You're standing in line. Your phone is at 1%. There is nothing to look at, nothing to read, nothing to do. And within about 40 seconds, something in your chest starts to itch. You feel restless, irritated, almost panicked. That feeling has a name, but the real answer to why you feel it is far stranger than you think. You call it boredom. You treat it like a flaw. Something to fix, something to scroll away, something to numb. But boredom is not a malfunction. It is a survival mechanism. It is one of the oldest alarms in your brain, older than language, older than fire, older than the wheel, and it may be the single reason your ancestors are the ones who survived to become you. Picture a small band of early humans on the African savanna, roughly 200,000 years ago. Food is scarce. Predators are patient. Every single day is a negotiation between staying still and staying safe. Now imagine one member of that band who feels perfectly content doing nothing. No itch to move, no urge to explore, no discomfort in stillness. That person does not scout new water sources. That person does not notice the herd migrating 3 valleys over. That person does not find the cave with better shelter before the rains come. That person statistically has fewer descendants. Meanwhile, the restless one, the one who cannot sit still, who feels a low hum of dissatisfaction when nothing is happening, that person wanders, investigates, notices, discovers, and passes that restlessness on. This is the argument put forward by evolutionary psychologist Andreas Elpidoro, whose research reframes boredom not as an empty feeling but as a functional signal. Elpidoro describes boredom as an emotion that pushes you away from an unsatisfying state and towards something more meaningful. In other words, boredom is not the absence of purpose. It is the presence of a warning that says, what you are doing right now is not enough. Move, look elsewhere. Something better is out there. Think about what that means for a species trying to survive. An animal that is perfectly satisfied with its current patch of grass never expands its territory, never finds the richer hunting ground, never discovers the safer route through the mountains. Boredom, in this light, is not a punishment. It is an engine. It is the internal voice that once whispered to your ancestors, "This is not enough. Keep searching." And here's where it gets stranger. Boredom didn't just drive your ancestors outward toward new territory. It drove them inward too, toward invention. Consider the cave paintings at Lascaux, roughly 17,000 years old. Consider the carved bone flutes found in Germany, dated to around 40,000 years ago, among the oldest musical instruments ever discovered. Nobody needed music to survive a winter. Nobody needed painted bison on a cave wall to catch dinner. These things exist because early humans had moments without immediate threat, without immediate task, and in those moments boredom did not let them simply sit. It pushed them to create. This is the part most people get backwards. You assume boredom is what happens when your brain has nothing to do. Actually, boredom is what happens when your brain refuses to accept having nothing to do. It is discomfort engineered specifically to make idleness intolerable. Which raises a question you've probably never asked yourself. What was boredom protecting your ancestors from, exactly? Not just missed opportunities. Danger, too. A restless mind that keeps scanning the environment is a mind more likely to notice the rustle in the grass, the shift in the wind, the silence of birds that usually sing. Stillness of the body was fine. Stillness of the mind was fatal. So evolution built you an alarm that goes off the moment your attention gets too comfortable. That alarm doesn't care whether you're on the savannah or in a waiting room. It only knows one rule: an idle mind is a vulnerable mind. Now here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you. Your brain still runs this exact program today, in a world that no longer needs it. A 2014 study led by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia asked participants to simply sit alone in a room with their thoughts for as little as 6 to 15 minutes. No phone, no book, no task, just sitting. Wilson's team found the experience so unpleasant for many participants that a striking number of them chose to give themselves mild electric shocks rather than sit quietly with nothing to do. Read that again. People opted for physical pain over unstructured stillness. That is not weakness. That is 40,000 years of survival. Wiring firing off exactly as designed in an environment that no longer has any tigers in the grass. You are not broken when boredom feels unbearable. You are running ancient software on modern hardware. And this is precisely why your phone feels so good to reach for. It's not that scrolling is inherently more satisfying than stillness. It's that scrolling is the fastest available treatment for an itch your biology developed for a completely different world. Every notification, every autoplay video, every infinite feed is engineered, often deliberately, to exploit the exact same restlessness that once sent your ancestors out to find new rivers and richer land. The alarm hasn't changed. Only the response available to quiet it has changed. And the modern response is cheaper, faster, and far less useful than the one it replaced. Consider what your ancestors did with their restlessness. They mapped unfamiliar terrain. They domesticated fire. They painted animals on stone with such precision that researchers today still study the anatomical accuracy of a 15,000-year-old horse. Consider what you do with yours. You refresh a feed. You watch someone else's vacation. You close one app and open another that looks almost identical. Same alarm, wildly different outcome. This gap is what researcher John Eastwood at York University calls the boredom problem of modern life. Not that people feel bored, but that the environment now offers instant, low-effort ways to mute the feeling without ever acting on what it was designed to produce. Eastwood's work describes boredom as the uncomfortable feeling of wanting to be engaged in a satisfying activity but being unable to do so. The discomfort is not the malfunction. The mismatch between the signal and the available response, that's the malfunction. So what do you do with an alarm this old, wired for a world that no longer exists in the way it once did? You could keep muting it. Millions of people do, every single day in the space of a single red light or a single elevator ride. Or you could listen to it the way it was designed to be heard, not as an emergency to escape, but as an invitation to explore. The scientists who study this suggest that boredom, left alone rather than instantly medicated, tends to push people toward creativity, reflection, and problem-solving. The same restlessness that once sent a small band of humans over the next ridge can still send you toward the next idea, the next skill, the next unexplored corner of your own thinking, if you give it the chance to finish its sentence instead of silencing it after the first syllable. Your ancestors didn't survive because they were comfortable. They survived because they weren't. Comfort for them was often the last thing they felt before something dangerous found them unprepared. Discomfort, strange as it sounds, was the thing standing guard. So the next time you're in that line, phone dead, mind unoccupied, and that itch starts creeping into your chest, notice it for what it actually is. It is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something in you is still, after 200,000 years, doing exactly its job. You call it boredom. But the real story is that it never stopped trying.